with me. We can't let him get away.
We need to find them now. That's worth checking out.
So recently I've been playing pretty much every single patch of the 3.23 release as it's been coming to the PTU test environment and hasn't been going particularly well. And with us so close to the Invictus launch week, Star Citizen's second biggest ship sale of the year in a time where their funding is falling behind, it's got me concerned that they're going to be pushing this out to the live environment, and that's got me thinking once again about standards. What are the standards that Star Citizen should set for a release to the live environment? What goals should there be? Should it be perfectly polished, or should it have a few bugs, or should it be a completely broken mess and that the point is just to test the game? That's what I wanted to talk about in this video, and there are quite a few perspectives in the community, and I suspect you yourself will already be typing something in the comments below. But what I wanted to do here was have a constructive conversation and first discuss what the perspective is from CIG, because they've recently weighed in on this issue based on a lot of people commenting in the Spectrum forums about how they feel that the patch should wait, be baked a bit more, and fixed up before it's pushed to live, fearing that we're going to get another notoriously bad 3.18 release where a good portion of the community couldn't even play the game because of how broken it was. So basically the way that CIG has been responding is that Star Citizen is still an alpha, and that the live environment is an extension of the test environment. It's just a bigger pool of people, and in fact, that bigger pool of people allows them to more easily identify the major issues that are in the current patch. The frustrating reality for CIG is that the test environment, the PTU, or like I like to call it, the Patience Testing Universe, thanks Talia by the way for coining that originally, because it's really painful to play. It really tests your patience, and it's not for everybody. So naturally, not a lot of people play it. There's a massive disparity between the test environment and the live environment numbers. And that allows a lot of issues to get through to the live environment where they can become a major problem. That's basically what happened with 3.18. It seemed like it was okay in the PTU, but once it went to live, pretty much everything broke. So from CIG's perspective, sometimes you just need to move fast and break things in order to make any kind of progress for the game's development. And that's not a new concept by any means to development. That's something that actually Facebook coined themselves. And sure enough, with 3.18, they did a lot of fixes over time. It took them a while, but eventually they got PES to the point where it's now pretty much perfectly fine. It's just that in-between really sucked for the players of the game. And CIG are aware of this. CIG strive to strike a balance between making the experience enjoyable and playable while still allowing some bugs through so that they can continue to progress through development. Because just sitting down and bug fixing for an entire patch cycle could drag out a patch for a very, very long time. As Richard Tyrer said in the recent Inside Star Citizen, if you give people 4 weeks, it'll take 4 weeks. And I can really respect this position because they're looking at Star Citizen's development from a very big picture view. They're seeing that there's a long road ahead to get many things done, and that stopping for fixing a few bugs here could drag things out in the long run when we're already here at the 12-year mark. So then it's clear here, Star Citizen's perspective on the standard for a release for Star Citizen to the live environment is that it should be balanced, a mostly okay experience with some bugs, with the understanding that there are some things that will always slip through to the live environment, that they shouldn't be bogged down for too long in fixing bugs because they've got a long road ahead and they need to get things done. But what about that pesky player's perspective? One that I'm sure CIG have tried to consider, and one that I wanted to talk about here in this video because this is the perspective that I have. In my recent experiences over the past couple of years, specifically the last year, the patches that we've received haven't been particularly stable. A lot of the time I'm experiencing some game-breaking bugs more often than I'm not. And when I say game-breaking issue, I'm talking about the kind of issue that basically stops you from what you want to do, that gets in the way where either you just need to give up or Alt F4 in the worst case scenario and just take a deep breath. Some examples of this for me have been objectives not appearing for me once I arrive to the site, NPCs not appearing or falling through the floor, making me give up said mission, my ship exploding for no reason, hitting an invisible rock, encountering an invisible player that kills me, completely unresponsive AI or very slow to respond AI or interactions within the game environment just in general, or a lot of earlier features that were added and then just kind of left to rot. For example, the docking feature, which no longer really works anymore for the Constellation and the Merlin, and it's really sketchy for the Hammerhead. I mean, it goes on. And if you guys have your own issues that you've been experiencing consistently, patch to patch, please let me know down below. Say something down below. I'd be interested to see what you guys are seeing. But I've just been encountering like lots and lots of issues that get in the way of me being able to play the game, again, more often than not. So then what standards should there be from my perspective as a player? Well, this is a bit more difficult to discuss because there's something I think that's worth mentioning here before I lay down any kind of groundwork for this. And that's that everybody has a different perspective because everybody plays the game in a slightly different way. Depending on how you play Star Citizen, you're going to encounter different levels of stability. Star Citizen isn't just broadly across the spectrum unstable or stable, it varies and gets worse depending on your activity. So for example, if you're somebody who just enjoys free flying and the flight sim part of Star Citizen, and you don't really care about FPS combat, well, your experience might be really good in a given patch, where that same patch maybe has an issue where you fall through the floor as an FPS combat player. And so the person who's doing FPS combat is going to say, well, this patch is really bad, whereas the person who does free fly will be like, I love this is the best patch ever. And so I think from here stems a lot of disagreement and argument in the community about when a patch is stable or unstable. So I just want to say here that when I talk about stability, when I talk about a standard, I'm looking at it from a kind of across the board perspective where every feature is roughly similar in usability and enjoyability. To finally get to the point then, the standards that I hope that Star Citizen could meet are a kind of 80-20 or 70-30 ratio, where 70 to 80% of the time you're only encountering minor issues. We're talking about the kind of annoying bug that maybe delays you a little bit, that is annoying to look at or kind of ruins your immersion a little bit, but is not something that's going to stop you from enjoying the gameplay loop that you want to enjoy. Where the other part of the time, that 20-30% of the time, you encounter a bug that just stops you from being able to play the game. And how I see this ratio being applied is by the sessions that you log in. So not by a duration of time where 80% of the time you're just having a good time. I'm talking about 80% of the sessions that you log in are good sessions and 20% of the sessions are bad sessions where you encounter a bug that stops you from playing. So I'm still leaving a percentage of times where the gameplay experience isn't going to be great because I agree that the game needs to move fast and occasionally break things. There needs to be progress. Star Citizen has been going again for 12 years, and I think it's high time that we start to see core gameplay loops start to become connected so that we have a higher purpose in the game beyond just doing our isolated gameplay loop with no real connection to anything else and no real reason to stick around for long periods of time. You see, here's my problem. Star Citizen isn't just a test environment anymore, and it hasn't been just a test environment for a long time. It at some point became a live service. And what I mean is that the game's current experience is something that people are looking to buy the game for. And here's where I'm going to inject a little bit of my perspective as a content creator as well as a player. From my perspective, from what I've seen, CIG doesn't do a lot of advertisement for Star Citizen, if any at all. What they do is they rely on the content creator community both on YouTube, Twitch, and other platforms to create content on the game and generate interest, which in turn generates people buying the game and funding the project further. The live environment that we play then is what these new players see, or these existing players that are returning after a long time, and may be what determines whether or not they want to buy something. And one of the determining factors is whether or not it seems like it's a stable experience, because ultimately people want to play the game. Now, personally, as I've said, I've not had a stellar experience, and I don't hide that when I stream the game. And while you can't see it mostly on YouTube because I just do videos that don't really showcase gameplay, the reality is that it's really affected my personal motivation for creating more content on the game, resulting in less videos on Star Citizen. Certainly a part of this is that I'm starting to burn out a little bit with just dealing with these issues. It was true that once upon a time I was more willing to be accepting of these bugs and to even create bug reports to try to help development. But at some point in the recent past, because it's been so consistently bad from my perspective, I've just lost that motivation. But I also think that part of it is not a personal problem. That part of it is also that Star Citizen, that CIG are still operating on a more outdated mode of thought about what the PU should be. That they're still looking at it as more of a test environment as opposed to a live environment, and that something maybe needs to change. And maybe it's that I want to have my cake and eat it too, but I also really want them to move fast and break things occasionally when it comes to big tech. I want them to get past this replication layer stage to move on to server meshing to really test that feature out and get on to the bigger features that Rich Tyrer was talking about in the latest ISC. Because it's not just a stable experience that excites me, it's also what's coming next and seeing real progress. So I don't want progress to slow down because of bug fixing. All I can say is that my experience has not been that great recently, and that I hope that it could be improved ever so slightly to meet that 80-20 or 70-30 ratio. I'm not asking for a perfect experience. I understand it's a test environment and I can handle it being buggy. I just wish it wasn't so buggy that when I introduce it to my friends that they laugh and say this game is a joke. Because in the end, as frustrated as I am with the current state of the game, I'm still in love with Star Citizen and I still want to see it succeed. But what do you guys think? How are you feeling on this subject? Please weigh in down below and let me know what your thoughts are. I really hope that this starts a discussion in the community that's helpful and constructive, because I feel like there's been a lot of noise and I just want to contribute something positive here. So let me know. Hope to see you guys in the next one.